Once upon a time, there was a king who raised a question in his royal court. He specifically called the scholar, the Panditji, and asked him, "So tell me, what does your God do in his spiritual abode?" Panditji started thinking about it. Well, so what does God do? He asked the king, "Can you please give me time until tomorrow morning?" And the king agreed. All through that day, Panditji kept thinking about this question, but nothing seemed to be flashing. He went back home that evening. He was poring through so many books, flipping pages after pages, but no answer. He was getting a little scared because if the king is dissatisfied with the answer he's going to give, who knows, he may give him some severe punishment. So, out of fear, the scholar thought maybe it is just better for him to leave the village, leave the kingdom for a few days without telling anybody. He waited until it was dark. He put a bag underneath his arm and he was stealthily stepping out of the village. Just then, the cobbler noticed him and said, "Ram Ram Panditji, where are you going at this time of the night?" Panditji explained to him his predicament and he said instead of getting humiliated in front of everybody, he thought it's better to just leave the village. The cobbler said, "All right, anyway, you are already leaving, so you carry on. But in your place, tomorrow I will go to the king and give the answer." Panditji said, "Anyway, it's your fate. You do whatever you want, but I'm leaving." The next morning, the sun rose, and as people started trickling into the royal assembly, the cobbler also went in and sat in a little corner. The king started looking for the scholar. He said, "Where is that Panditji? He was supposed to give me the answer, but I don't see him." So at this, the cobbler stood up, stepped forward, humbly bowed down in front of the king, and said, "Your Royal Highness, the answer to the question that you asked is so simple that Panditji thought instead of him coming and directly giving the answer, a simple cobbler like me would suffice. So he has sent me on his behalf." King raised his eyebrow and said, "Really? So we are all waiting for the answer that you have to give." The cobbler said, "Sure, I will give the answer, but there is a glitch. The problem is, usually the etiquette is that the person who is asking the question should be in a lower position and the person who is giving the answer should be in a higher position. And here it seems to be the exact opposite. So if you would kindly step down from your throne and allow me to ascend the throne, then I will give you the answer." The king was visibly annoyed at this audacity of the cobbler. How dare he say something like this? But reluctantly, he got up from his seat. He was biting his teeth. And as he was stepping down the stairs and the cobbler was climbing up the stairs, he was thinking to himself, the king thought to himself, "Let me see, if you don't give the proper answer, then you see what I'm going to do." And as he was thinking like that, he gave him that kind of a glare and he stepped down. Meanwhile, the cobbler sat on the throne enjoying this little moment, and then he said, "Now you may ask your question." And the king asked him, "So tell me, what does your God do in his abode?" The cobbler smiled from ear to ear and he said, "What we just witnessed is exactly what my Lord doing in his abode. He is elevating the humble and he is humbling the proud. He is lowering the proud." What a beautiful lesson from this story, isn't it? Humility is such a fundamental and most important quality that is essential for whether material success or spiritual success. There is no growth without humility. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, shloka number 4, when Krishna starts describing the demoniac qualities, the very first line he says, "Dhambo darpo bhimanascha." Interestingly, the first two words, Damba and Darpa, both talk about pride. So, how important it is that we should consciously strive to develop humility. So, how do we develop humility? For that, my dear friends, let's look at two instances, one from Chaitanya Charitamrita and the other from Ramayana. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, was asked, "Who are you? What is your identity?" In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 13, shloka 80, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. नाहं विप्रो न च नरपतिर्नापि वैश्यो न शूद्रो नाहं वर्णी न च गृहपतिर्नो वनस्थो यतिर्वा किन्तु प्रोद्यन् निखिल परमानन्दपूर्णामृताब्धे गोपी भर्तुः पदकमलयोर्दासदासानुदासः. So what is he saying? Naham Vipro, I am not a Brahmana. Nacha Narapatir, I am not a Kshatriya, the master of the citizens. Napi Vaishyo, I don't belong to the mercantile class. Na Shudro, I don't belong to the worker class either. Naham Varni, I am not a Brahmachari. Nacha Grihapatir, I am not the master of the household, so I am not a Grihastha. No Vanasto, I am not a Vanaprasthi, and neither am I a Yati, a renunciant. Okay, so he does not belong to any Varna, any ashrama, then who is he? Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. 3 times Dasa, servant. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of Padakamalayur, the lotus feet. Whose lotus feet? Gopi Bhartuhu, the maintainer of the gopis, who is the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So, in fact, this is not just the identity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but this is the identity of each and every one of us. The Jivatma, individual soul, is part and parcel of Krishna. So, constitutionally, eternally, our position, our identity is that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So when we are in the servant mood and when we operate and approach everything in our life from the service attitude, that is the right attitude. So the second instance is from Ramayana, where Hanuman has taken the leap across the Indian Ocean. He has gone to find Mother Sita and he's entered Ravana's court. And Ravana is asking him, "Who are you? Give me your introduction." And how does Hanuman introduce himself? It's one of the classic introductions. Hanuman says, Dasoham Koshalendrasya. That's it. Dasoham Koshalendrasya. Who is Hanuman? He's saying he's the Dasa, servant. Whose servant is he? Koshalendrasya. The Indra of Kaushala Desha, that is Lord Sri Ramachandra. So that's the identity, servant of the Supreme Lord. So, my dear friends, this is the best way to develop humility. Always having this service attitude. Always thinking that I am the servant, never thinking that I am the master. So, this is the best way to develop humility. So, let us all strive in this direction and let's remember, if we don't humble ourselves, God will do it for us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Click the link below in the description to join Aradhana Online's official WhatsApp group to get access to more such motivational videos, inspirational quotes, and latest updates. Thank you.